Hello YouTube, here we monsters. This is just my finishing up my response to Keith Olbermann in the previous video. But really what I was getting at is there are more things to be afraid of as far as security. You know, financial security, physiological security, not just security against physical attack or violence. The threat of physical attack or violence is considerably lower. I would much rather live in a society or a world where there is the possibility, which there is in our current society, that someone will kill me. I mean, that's a typical, you know, that's a typical risk that you take leaving your home every day, even not leaving your home. And it's a risk that we take anyway. I mean, as far as terrorism, more people died on our nation's highways in 2001 than in the 9/11 attacks. Now, granted, those were accidents. They weren't direct, intentional, violent attacks. And I can tell you right now, each and every person in our society, we would be affected much more by a long-term depression than we would by any terrorist attack. This is fact. Lack of food or water or medical care will kill you. It will. It definitely will. Imagine a world where something as simple as getting the flu would be a death sentence. That's life without health care, or having access to it, or being able to afford it, or having a safety net in place. Influenza would kill you. Strep throat would kill you. Chickenpox could possibly kill you. So, not to mention that our infant mortality rate would go through the roof. But that's a tangent that I'm not really going to go off on. Any society that would sacrifice freedom for safety deserves neither freedom nor safety. It's not the exact quote from Jefferson. It's just a rendition of it. That quote holds very true in our society, especially with the passing of the USA Patriot Act. Do you want to give up your freedom for safety? Because you were afraid of Osama bin Laden or some crazy guy somewhere who was able to crash planes into buildings or whatever. Would you be willing to lock yourself in a jail cell because your neighbor wants to kill you? That's a good way to put it. If your neighbor threatens to kill you and there's no way to put the neighbor in jail, he's threatened you with a gun or whatever, and you're afraid of him, would you rather be living free and having to face that fear, or would you rather just have yourself locked in a jail cell until your neighbor dies of natural causes? That's essentially what you're doing. It's not physical incarceration, of course. It's psychological. What you can say, what you can think, where you can go. Mr. Olbermann made a point that we should protest this new era of neo-colonialism. I'm sorry, not of neo-feudalism that we're actually starting to go into right now as I speak to you. And even doing so, even doing that, you still put yourself at risk. The police have proven our system has proven that it does not take kindly on protests of any type. They are not hesitant to get out the tear gas, the riot batons, the rubber bullets. And they would arrest you. Yeah, people are arrested in protests. They're typically released within hours. But the point is, they're trying to avoid saying that they quelled your right to assemble by stating that they never charged you with a crime. They let you go, so it's all better. It's just a way of them quelling the protest. If they can disperse the crowd, if they can take people, put them in jail, even if they don't charge them. They can't charge them, by the way. They cannot charge you for being in a protest. They cannot technically arrest you. They detain you. And that's considered acceptable in our society. The reason why it is acceptable in our society is because our society has allowed it to become acceptable. There's no public outrage. There's no public outrage. People are more concerned with what the ball scores are. Baseball, football, whatever. American Idol. Harry Potter. Or bickering back and forth with others on YouTube. I do not put a lot of time into my bantering on YouTube. I really don't. People say that I do. They say, oh, you upload a lot of videos. I'll watch a video that somebody does about me. I'll turn the camera. I'll film a response. I turn it off. That's it. It doesn't really require any long-term preparation. Now, people who are making videos about me may be putting a lot of time and effort into it. I cannot say the same for myself. That's the point with what's been going on. They've created a political atmosphere through the media over the past several weeks that we have to pass this debt ceiling. And they have bickered back and forth, and they've gotten us on one side or the other. But in the end, whatever side you are on, whichever side you are on the debt ceiling, you're working toward that same goal without even knowing it. The Republicans and Democrats were working toward the same goal. They knew what they wanted in it. They found a way to get it put in it. The United States Senate is going to vote on the debt ceiling increase tomorrow. The debt ceiling does need to be increased. I know that's not popular amongst a lot of people, but it does. You cannot reform a government that's broke, because the government of the people, by the people, for the people that is broke, the people that government belongs to are broke as well. And as far as security and defense spending is important. It is. Defense spending is very important. But we have to prioritize, because we simply don't have the money that we used to have. We have to prioritize our spending. And cutting defense, once again, that goes back to, you have to have food and water first. And without those things, none of the rest matters. Your guns don't matter. Your freedoms don't matter. And your rights don't matter. I personally hold a high value on rights, on human rights, on the rights of individuals to be free from oppression, whether it be at the hands of a government or other human beings, other people. And I can honestly say that with what's going on, we're losing everything in this country. We're losing freedom, and we're losing security. Not necessarily physical security. The physical security was never really there. They just make it look like it is. 9/11 is a prime example of that. Whether you believe 9/11 was an inside job, it still happened. So all that money that we paid to the federal government out of our paychecks that goes to defending us, yeah. You can't be safe. The government cannot make you safe all the time. But when you're starving to death and you don't have food, you tell me what's more important. Buying the military a few extra M16s or M4s or a potato. Because when that time comes, and I hope it doesn't in this country, it's going to be bad. And a lot of us are going to be able to sit back and say, we saw it coming. But nobody wanted to damn listen. Nobody wanted to goddamn listen. This is YouTube, Hairy Monsters, and good luck out there.